I got this absolutely wicked fan art of Matthias, and wow, trying to copy this style is way beyond my skill level. The depth and layers of colors is honestly blowing me away. But, well, I'll do the best I can to do it justice in my own style. Thanks so much for sending this in. So, what's the topic this week? It might be a little esoteric, but one of the things I love about talking about Matthias is using it as a chance to look at the history of music. Well, how about the piano? It's a truly versatile instrument. The hammers and the strings have struck a chord from classical to jazz, symphony to rock and roll. But here's the thing, Matthias would have never actually lived long enough to touch a piano, let alone a piano that looked like this. This particular piano looks at the style from the Victorian era made by Alfred Newby and John Evans all the way in New York City. I swear, I know so much about pianos because one of my sisters plays. So, according to her, Newby was a piano maker, and Evans had a background in banking and finance. These two talents combined led to a relatively fast success. In just 6 short years, their partnership had built a factory that was cranking out 40 pianos of this type per week. So after the turn of the century, they added player pianos to the product line under the brand name Monroe. This was meant to serve as an affordable alternative to the standard upright pianos made at the time. After the Great Depression, Newby and Evans was absorbed into the National Piano Manufacturing Company. Despite this, Newby and Evans pianos continued to be built under this brand name until World War II. But the inception of this instrument goes further back than that. The first upright piano was actually invented in 1790 by Johann Schmidt of Salzburg. Get this, according to the Metropolitan Museum, he secured his job as the court organ maker of Salzburg by none other than Leopold Mozart, the father of Wolfgang Amadeus. Amadeus. Ugh, I swear I've been spending too much time with Kiki lately. It's starting to affect me. They actually have one of Schmidt's pianos that has the initials of Wolfgang Mozart etched on the inside. They didn't discover this until 1980 when the piano went in for cleaning. Though, while it is possible that Mozart played this particular piano in Salzburg, most of his pieces were composed on a forte piano made by Anton Walter of Vienna. In fact, you can still see this late 1700s piano on display in Mozart's home, where it's survived since his demise in 1791. Notice how close to the end of Mozart's life was the creation of Schmidt's piano? Another interesting thing I found when looking up stuff for this video is that historically informed performances of Mozart's works will use replica forte pianos designed in Walter's style in order to recreate an authentic sound environment that Mozart actually composed in. That's actually amazing. I've got to look that up later. We could take it back further to Bartolomeo Cristofori, an Italian instrument maker credited to be the first person to design what we would now call the piano. You know who this guy kind of looks like to me, though? Yeah, that's right. The creepy organ player villain from the Beauty and the Beast sequel. The one that went straight to VHS. The one voiced by Tim Curry. His name was even Forte. Like piano forte. The instrument was named like that originally, basically meaning in Italian, soft to loud, because the sound varied on how the player struck the keys. I told you, it's a versatile instrument. These early pianos, though, they took up a whole lot of space in a home, which is where the uprights designed by Robert Warnham in 1826 came in extremely handy and led back to the inventions of Newby and Evans. But enough about that. What instrument of this type would Matthias have realistically played? Well, given his lifetime in the mid-1200s to 1300, something it's likely he could have gotten his hands on is a clavichord, though these would not have been available in Alden. Clavichords were invented in Germany, so it would have taken significant travel for him to even try one out. Clavichord comes from the Latin words clavis for key and chord for string, literally keys and strings. Piano. Although, as an important note, clavichords were most often used as practice instruments. They weren't designed to be loud enough for larger performances. It's known that Mozart actually did use a clavichord for that purpose, and his father Leopold described it as a pretty little keyboard instrument, which does us good service for practicing on during our travels. So what then? Well, there's actually a really great contender here, and that's a particular hammer and string instrument that was extremely popular in medieval Europe during the 12th century, and that is the hammered dulcimer. In fact, if you've ever been to a Ren fair, you've probably seen a guy playing one of these. It looks like a board with strings stretched across it. The player essentially uses two sticks, the hammers, and individually strike strings rather than tapping keys like the piano. There are actually very few surviving instruments from this time due to the wear on the materials, although there are written records of dulcimers appearing in Europe as early as the 1100s, around the time of the First Crusades. What's significant about this is that the dulcimer may very well have been based on an older Iranian instrument called the santur. I mean, look at it. This instrument is mentioned in Assyrian and Babylonian stone carvings as early as 669 BCE. In Christian mythology, Nebuchadnezzar was said to herald his arrival with all kinds of instruments, including a cornet, a flute, a harp, a sackbut, a psaltery, a dulcimer, etc. And those who did not fall down in worship to him were thrown into a fiery furnace. Great guy to name your ship after, Morpheus. Now this is where it gets tricky. Using both psaltery and dulcimer in the same passage is odd, because the usage of dulcimer here was actually based on European presumptions about an Aramaic text. While psaltery refers to the santur, the Hebrew used here instead of dulcimer was symphonia, which is close to the Greek symphonia, which likely referred to a reed pipe instrument like the bagpipe, and not a string dulcimer. Right, now you're thinking, how did she loop this back to bagpipes? Aren't those from Scotland? Yeah, absolutely. But there's evidence to suggest that, at the very least, an older, analogous instrument may have existed in Mesopotamia, or Babylon, all the way back before the Common Era. Symphonia in Greek was often used to describe a double reed pipe like the aulos. Given this, we could speculate that bags were used to create a longer, droning sound. These bags would have been made from animal bladders, and thus wouldn't have left behind any surviving record after so long. We know this because the 2nd century BCE, Polybius mentions the askalos. This translates from Greek to literally mean bagpiper, where askos is Greek for wineskin. In the 1st century BCE, Romans had an instrument made from reed pipes and a bagskin. This tibia uticarius was the favorite of the Roman Emperor Nero, and the Romans have been credited by some historians as actually being the culture to introduce bagpipes to the Celtic lands. So how's that for a little music history? I thought it was pretty interesting stuff when I was looking it up, but tell me what you think in the comments. Like, subscribe, and ring my bell. We've got a lot of exciting stuff coming up. Also, shout out to Emperor Nero for appearing in a video again. We haven't seen him since the Antichrist video, where we compared him against 5 others, including Trump. Patreon is our main hub for all things involved with Tales of Atonement, and our patron support helps us produce our episodes faster and with more consistency. But what's in it for you? From there you can find our Tales of Atonement Discord server, art, music, comics, as well as exclusive viewership for upcoming scripts. Supporting us on Patreon is what shows us we're part of a growing community of artists, actors, history buffs, and storytellers that have become fascinated with our characters these past couple of years. This is our passion project we've put our hearts and souls into over 20 years, and your support really helps keep that flame alive. Right now, a big thanks to Pammy Poo, Heinrich28, Shadow Fox, Charles Tam, Arya Gamari, Jace Morland, and Lunder Lumen. And of course, everyone who joins us each week. At the very least, I hope you'll like this video, subscribe, and ring my bell if it really resonated with you. And I'll see you again next week. Many a Mickle, Maximuckle.